because my first thought was, who has 122 software vendors, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's extraordinary.
I've worked with 122 software vendors. Isn't that shocking?
Yeah. So
that's all this guy does, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're in network security, maybe they're familiar with them, but a 10-employee company, that was a little weird. But if the gentleman says that's his experience, then that's his experience. He's the president of his company. He's not going to say that.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. Epicor Prophet 21 has always been extremely popular among industrial distributors. But is Epicor Prophet 21 fit for all businesses? Can it work for manufacturing as well as distribution? How about businesses that might manufacture as well as distribute? How is it different from other Epicor products such as Kinetic and Eclipse? Has it been upgraded to the cloud version? How cloud native would it be? Would there be any limitations such as the inability to open multiple windows or enterprise search? These are the questions you are going to have if you are thinking of evaluating Epicor Prophet 21 for your business. In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to conduct independent review of Epicor Prophet 21's capabilities. We covered many grounds, including their strength in retail and distribution industries, along with their deep supply chain planning and procurement capabilities. Finally, we discussed their retail-centric capabilities such as financial collaboration, reporting dimensions, unit of measure, seasonality, and replenishment methods. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution independently. So before we start our review, we are going to start with everybody's intro. I'll start with my intro. If you don't know me, I am your host, Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with ERP selection, implementation, contract negotiation. On that note, I'm going to move to Phil for his intro.
Hi, everybody. Phil Kerper, Managing Director of Ringling Business Solutions. We help executive leadership teams align their digital transformation strategy with their core business. And I've been working in executive level with companies for several decades and have a lot of ERP implementations, and looking forward to the show tonight, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Phil. Andy, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Absolutely, Sam. Thank you for inviting me. I am the grizzled vet, I understand. And I've been in the ERP industry with small to mid-sized manufacturers for 40 years. I've worked all over North America, and I worked with about 1,000 manufacturers, probably over that. But I've also published a book on helping companies on how to evaluate and how to uncover the truth about ERP software. And again, thank you, Sam. I'm looking forward to the show.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your comments. Our panelists are going to be watching for your comments and questions, and they typically respond during the show. And if we cannot get to them, then we'll make sure that you receive your answers after the show. On that note, for today, we are going to be reviewing the solution called Epicor Prophet 21. And this is going to be a darling for a lot of people, especially in the industrial distribution space. They absolutely love it. And there are reasons why they love Epicor 21. And we are going to be discussing all of those reasons. So I am going to start with a quick brief. Phil or Andy, and I don't know if you guys are going to have any comment before I start the briefing. No? Okay. So we have already done Epicor and Epicor Kinetic. Epicor Kinetic is Epicor's flagship solution. Epicor Kinetic is targeted more towards manufacturing, even though when we reviewed it, we knew that it does not have as strong manufacturing capabilities, especially when we look at the complex BOM, when we look at the BOM data integrity. But Epicor Kinetic is probably going to be better for industries where you require a little bit of project-based manufacturing, because the WBS had the dates on the WBS itself, and it is also going to be slightly superior if you are going to be distributor plus manufacturing. But again, the way the Prophet 21 is positioned versus how Kinetic is positioned overall in the Epicor portfolio to be, let's say you are 90% manufacturer and probably 10% distributor, and it's very common for a manufacturer to be doing a little bit of distribution and distributors to be doing a little bit of manufacturing. So Prophet 21 is going to be purely for the distributors that might do light manufacturing, assembly, just a little bit of manufacturing. So this is going to be 80% distribution, probably 10 to 20% manufacturing. Then Epicor Prophet 21 is going to be a better fit. But if you are, let's say, 80% manufacturer, 20% distributor, then probably Epicor Kinetic is going to be a better fit. Overall, from the corporate strategy perspective, we have reviewed Epicor, and Epicor like to club as much functionality as part of the product, just like in 4, the way in 4 approaches, more from the corporate strategy perspective. In the reviews, in the case of Kinetic, I believe we saw a consistent trend for Epicor regarding their support. The users were somehow unhappy in every single review for some reason. I don't know why, but Epicor seems to be having a little problem there. So I don't know if the solution is going to be to work with a partner that can provide better support. But overall, from the product perspective, Epicor definitely has very compelling product for the industrial distribution and manufacturing. Now, Epicor Prophet 21 is part of the cloud native initiative, just like your Epicor Kinetic. So both of them are equally positioned based on these screenshots. It does seem that they have re-architected substantially, and it does seem to have the cloud native flavor overall in terms of how the legacy products are going to appear, at least in the cloud native world. So it has been re-architected substantially. So you are going to get all those features such as enterprise search, which is lacking in a lot of different legacy products. The double tabbing is another issue that a lot of legacy products have. Seems like Epicor Prophet 21 is probably not going to have that. In the case of Epicor Kinetic, we saw that we could never see double tab in any of the demo videos. And Epicor is a very shy company, okay? So you are not going to find a lot of demos online. I don't know why, but it's very hard to find Epicor demos openly on YouTube for some reason. I just don't get it. So that's about Epicor Prophet 21. What else am I missing here? I think that's pretty much it. Phil, Andy, anything that we cover as part of the briefing that I should be covering right now?
Well, Prophet 21 has been around for a long, long time. I think Epicor acquired it 10 years ago or so. Sam, is that about right?
Don't quote me on the date. I'm not.
Okay, but it's been around for a long, long time. Has an established customer base. Very popular in the distribution market space. You were mentioning light manufacturing, probably kitting and things like that. Mostly to do with sales. And I mean, if you look at Epicor's portfolio, and whenever they do publish financial statements, they seem to push that they're very, very strong at distribution. I think Prophet 21 is the reason why.
Yeah, Sam, you touched on this, but when I prepare for these, I always try to think in kind of a matrix. So you got the enterprise software, you got kind of that mid-market type of level, and then more of the SME level software, and then this way functionality, where are they really strong? And in this case, I have you putting them kind of in the mid to upper mid market in distribution, or and you compared them with Infor, which is I kind of have in a similar spot. How would you kind of comment on that? Would you adjust that analysis at all?
Yeah, so I would definitely not position Epicor Prophet 21 as the upper mid market. So
Okay.
typically, upper mid market is going to be anywhere from $250 million to $1 billion, is how I define the
Okay.
upper mid market. Sometimes some of these mid market products can also work between your $1 to $5 billion range, to be honest. Let's say if you look at products such as Infor LN, Unit 4, IFS, all of QAD, those products can work in that range as well.
Right.
Again, depending upon the business model complexity. So I would not position Epicor Prophet 21 as the upper mid-market
So
product.
you'd put them just a little bit below that, towards the top end of an SME segment, maybe somewhere in that.
Yeah, so it's slightly bigger than Acumatica, I would say,
Okay, got it.
Smaller than NetSuite.
Yeah. So the other question I had, and maybe you could expand on, as far as on-prem, cloud native. I mean, where are these guys at in the journey to the cloud?
Yeah, so they are definitely re-architected for the cloud, and their cloud native experience is going to be superior than Infor as of today, at least. Overall, from the Infor product portfolio perspective, Epicor product seems to be slightly more cloud native, even though they started late on the cloud native experience. So even though it is a legacy product, but companies are going to get far superior cloud native experience with Epicor products.
And then we have a question from Eduardo. Hope I'm not messing up your name. Munitz, Munitz, I'm going to go with. What has been the major challenges to deploy Prophet 21 correctly in a sustainable manner? So that's a pretty broad question. So maybe we can comment on that now, or just kind of come back to that as we go through the presentation, Sam and Andy.
I know Eduardo to be small world.
Okay, well, he must be a smart man. He's asking a really good question.
Yeah, so do you guys want to attack that question, or do you want to wait? You said wait, right, Phil?
Well, I think I'll leave that. It's a broad question. I think some of these slides cover some of that, but yeah. Andy, you particularly, maybe you got some ideas. What are the major challenges for good deploying of this particular product? Are there any unique ones, for example?
You know what? When it comes to my expertise, I'm pretty good when it comes to manufacturing, and not as with distribution and wholesale. I mean, I understand it from a high level, but why don't we put that question on the back burner, and hopefully we'll answer it during the session.
Yeah, and I think that question can also be, the way I thought of the question when I read it was, when you're a distribution business model implementing ERP, whether, I don't know, Sam, if there's some unique challenges with this particular solution. I think it's more generally, you got to make sure you understand business processes and those types of things.
Yeah, I don't really think solution has anything to do with, whether the implementation is going to be or not, to be honest. Okay, it's with any product in the market.
Yeah, I would say just that you make sure, we're going to give, this is a pat answer, but it's a true answer. Make sure that you understand the most important business processes that the client has or that you have, and that you really challenge the solution you're picking, that it has enough strength in those core processes. Once you get past that, the only
way to do that is to speak to other companies that are similar to yourself, that are already using it and can prove that those critical requirements are met beautifully.
Yep. Okay. All right, we can come back to that as maybe it relates.
Okay, amazing, guys. So we are going to start with the slides, and this is going to be, Phil, as you had noticed that the structure overall from the company and site perspectives, and this probably can answer your question related to how big the product is, but they are going to have at least 2 layers, and typically 2 layers is considered to be decent in my mind. Okay, so typically when you look at these smaller products, they are not even going to have 2 layers of hierarchy where you are going to have company or site. They are probably going to have just one company inside the database. In the case of Epicor Prophet 21, it can accommodate multiple companies inside the same database. And that's why I said it's bigger than Acumatica, because Acumatica as of today can accommodate just one company that is going to have the unique chart of accounts, or unique currency. If you have entity in Canada and the US, then you probably are going to be keeping in 2 different tenants. But Epicor, and that's why Epicor Prophet 21 is going to be slightly bigger. NetSuite is far bigger. Overall, from the finance perspective, not from the operational complexity, Prophet 21 probably is going to have far deeper distribution functionality than NetSuite, but we are going to review all of that. So here you are going to find 2 layers, and the site layer is really important. because Epicor Prophet 21, the way the product is positioned, even though they call it as the distribution product, it also works really well in the retail setting. And they have a lot of functionality for the retail. And retail, when I say, these are going to be franchise-based business where you have the store, where you are going to have POS, where you are going to have your e-commerce phase. So Profit 21 does really, really well with the retail businesses as well. And one of the key distinction that we are going to be discussing during this presentation, and I'm not sure if a lot of people really understand, okay? A manufacturing product is very different from a distribution product, okay? Very different. So we are going to see how distribution planning and how the distribution inventory differs from manufacturing. And that's where Profit 21 really shines. And to answer Eduardo's question, most of the time, if Epicor P21 is going to fail, is because somebody overutilized or misconsumed. That's when it is going to fail. Otherwise, it's an amazing product for the retail and distribution setting if it is implemented right.
Now, with retail, you mean like high volume retail?
Exactly. I think Epicor Prophet 21 can work really well based on the again, I'm going based on the data model, the product design, the way product is designed. It has very unique feature for the distribution resource planning is the term that they use, and they have referenced in their presentation, in their slides. If you go to SAP Business One, which is also a distribution, okay? Now, my Microsoft friends might argue with me that, you know what, your Microsoft Business Central is a manufacturing product. But if you look at the planning, if you look at the product design, it's a very distribution product. Okay. So this is where I like to differentiate between the manufacturing product and the distribution product. Epicor and Infor, I guess, are two companies that really differentiate in those two, and they have very different products for both of those verticals. Infor also has a comparable product fill. Okay. So when you asked about the size, Infor has a product called SXC, which is really comparable to Profit 21. It's going to be slightly bigger in size. In general, Infor products are slightly bigger in size because they try to target slightly larger customer than Infor. So they are going to have far deeper functionality for bigger organization, but Epicor is going to have far deeper functionality for smaller org. So that's where the real difference. Okay, any comments? Otherwise, move to the next one.
Well, we're gonna put two out there. We got a few more questions, so I'm gonna put them out there now. I'm not sure it applies to this slide, but then you got them in your head. Eduardo focused his question a little bit, saying he was aiming to know how problems that ERP has had will be avoided with Epicor Prophet 21. So now he's trying to focus on, is there some particular features of this platform that avoid problems that generally might occur with ERP? So let's think about that. I don't think we came up with one in the first round. And then Anders Green has a question here, and I'll read it. It's a good question. I'd love to know the depth of the re-engineering that went into their move to cloud. The old database structure was multi-company, but not multi-tenant. They were also tied to an old reporting engine and old Java runtime environment. Get rid of those in a cloud native fashion is a huge task versus stick it on a virtual machine. So he's really asking the fundamentals of how much did they re-engineer it versus just switching over the old functionality to the cloud, right?
So I guess I don't know how to comment on that question because Epicor is really, really shy in revealing any details of what they are cooking underneath. You might be able to find that with other companies. Epicor is really shy for some reason. I mean, I was trying to find these details, and publicly you are not going to find. There are literally 4 demos available on YouTube that you can find related to Epicor, so there is only so much you can do in finding them. Based on the product architecture, the way, and I know where Anders is going with that question, to be honest. So I don't know if it is going to be multi-tenant or not. My understanding is going to be probably it is, the way it is structured, because this is how we saw in the case of Epicor Kinetic as well. This is the similar structure. So my understanding is going to be, it is going to be multi-entity as well as multi-tenant, and it is also globalized in multiple countries. And I have seen case studies where Epicor Prophet 21 it has been deployed in multiple countries. So my assumption is going to be that they are probably multi-tenant, multi-entity. I have seen Epicor Prophet 21 deployed with the retail organization where they had 30 stores. So again, that does not speak for the multi-entity functionality itself. because even Acumatica can work there. Because when you are looking at just the branch is a very different concept than housing your Mexico, your Canada, your Brazil in one database. So it's very hard to tell that. The way the screens are architected, my assumption is going to be, at least in the cloud world, it does seem that it is probably going to be multi-entity.
Okay, very good.
Did I answer both of the question? I think there was one more question there.
Yeah, and I think again, Eduardo's trying to focus his question a little bit. He says last comment is current ERP utilization is less than 40%. Eduardo, are you referring to how many companies out there that could use ERP, or are you referring to how many companies that implemented ERP are satisfied with the result? I'm not sure which one utilization applies to, but that's the question. That's all.
I would assume that means satisfaction.
Yeah, so then I guess he's still circling what's unique about this product that will lead to a more satisfied customer.
The uniqueness is going to be in the product design and utilizing that for the right company. If you are going to be overutilizing, obviously it's going to feel very unnatural. So the specific features are going to be distribution related planning. So if you are a pure play distribution business, you are absolutely going to love Epicor Prophet 21. The depth Epicor Prophet 21 has in its pricing, discount, the DRP functionality, the way your supply chain is planned, the way procurement is done, it's just phenomenal. There's no question about that. That depth is not going to be there in any other.
Yep, and I'm kind of in the same spot with this topic. It's are they in their lane on distribution, or are they trying to sell out of their lane? And then I think also, and you'll see some of the other stuff I know on the coming slide, Sam, is that is the complexity of your company, your structure, back to your multi-tenant conversation, your whether you've got a lot of branches or whether you've got are those things aligned with the capabilities of the software is also a really nice indicator of whether at the end of the day the client's going to satisfy.
So the enterprise search, again, enterprise search is fascinating for me, especially with the legacy products. And if any of the legacy products are able to do enterprise search, especially around data, okay, that's a big deal. So at least Epicor Prophet 21, Epicor Kinetic had slightly better search. Okay, they could search the way Acumatica would search. Epicor Prophet 21 does not seem like, so must have some technical underpinnings, and that's why they are sort of trying to enable the same experience. But as you can see from the screen, enterprise search is different than your menu search. So there is something going on here that I cannot spot. But at least you can search. You just have to click. With some of the products, you cannot even do that. So for the most part, at least you have the data search and the menu search that you can. It's not going to be same experience as you are going to find with NetSuite or Acumatica, but at least you have something. So enterprise search was better in Epicor Kinetic based on my understanding of the product. Epicor Prophet 21 has slightly weaker search. Now, in one demo, Phil, so I could see that they are able to open multiple tabs. Now, there could be a trick here as well, okay? So in some cases, what companies do is when they are opening multiple tabs, the second tab may be just the report, okay? Opening a tab for report is a different deal than opening for a transaction. So again, pay attention to the product when you are reviewing this in the demo. If they are not able to do the next tab, let's say if you are editing your opportunity in tab 1, can you carry forward that the same opportunity in tab 2? If you can do that, you have a cloud native product. If you cannot do that, you don't have a cloud native product, okay? Or it has not been re-architected for the cloud nativeness. So here, based on the way the demo flew, it seemed like as if they are trying to open report to demonstrate that they can open multiple tabs, but I would doubt if they are going to have the similar experience as Salesforce, or they are going to have similar experience as QuickBooks or whichever cloud native platforms are there. Now, some of the unique things that I found with Epicor Prophet 21, that is just mind-blowing, and that is going to be approval flow collaboration. And the way approval flow collaboration works is this is going to be your financial collaboration. For example, let's say if you are trying to set the budget for each of the individual for every month, and you are going to leave a comment, Phil, for your colleagues so that they can review and respond and update. That is all done inside the, which is just mind blowing. The way it works, it's almost like spreadsheet, and you literally have that collaboration happening in the chat on the right side and the changes happening on the spreadsheet, which is mind blowing. And this is where I don't think we saw this in the case of Kinetic. So this is where the distribution and retail the products are going to be different. With distribution and retail products, you are going to get far more sophisticated financial planning. You are going to see far more dimensions, because when you have 25 different stores, 25,000 product categories, different unit of measures, the kind of analysis that you are going to do in retail business is going to be very different from your manufacturing business. And this is the flavor that we are going to see in some of the screens. So, for example, Epicor Prophet 21 has more dimensions than your Sage Intacct. So far, our discovery, Phil, was that Sage Intacct had most number of dimensions. But if you look at the Epicor Prophet 21 product, to be honest, it has more than Sage Intacct, so which is just mind blowing for me. So this is the financial planner. So these are different dimensions. So they have more than 30, and this is a big deal for a retail business in my mind. And then what you could do is you can literally structure your customer. You can move around the customers in the financial planner, which is again a very big deal overall from the financial planning perspective, financial forecasting. It has very, very, very deep features for that. And that would be beneficial if you are a very high volume retail business. So here, some of the things that are very unique to the distribution and retail business is going to be your release schedule. And release schedule, this is going to be more towards the blanket order functionality, where you are going to have some sort of agreement, you have the contract, and then you are going to be releasing the rule-based releases that you are going to have for the blanket order. And typically the drivers for the companies are going to be, hey, I don't have a space in my inventory. I want you to send 10 product on a weekly basis. No more, no less. Okay, can you do that? So this is where, if you want to win those customers, obviously you need to have that flexibility. And typically, if your system is not going to support this, either you are going to be tracking this in a form or a spreadsheet, or you are going to be canceling those lines, you are going to be canceling the sales orders and then creating new orders. It's going to be a mess. Okay, so this is where Epicor Prophet 21 has all of those features, and these features are going to be super critical for industries such as, let's say, if you look at electrical, industrial distribution. That's where you have a lot more need for the releases. That's how those industries work, because they are very fragmented overall. They don't have as much cash as some of the other industries. So that's why they like to utilize a lot more release functionality than some of the other industries. And by the way, MEC, they are going to have some very fancy rules for the release. For example, if you want to expedite certain things, you can do that. And that all is going to be incorporated as part of your planning, which is the beauty of Epicor Prophet 21 product, that your procurement is going to be fairly automated. You don't have to put manual effort in predicting, okay, what is going to be my lead time? What is going to be my due date? That is all going to be taken care by Prophet 21, obviously, if you know how to write it. It's a very complex product, so you really need to understand how to use it. And if you don't understand, obviously, you are not going to like the product. You are going to feel that you are getting incorrect insights from your system, but the problem is really in your data and the way you are utilizing. I can take any short comments or move to the next one.
I'm relating back to a question that I'll articulate in a couple more slides here, but how do you think of the EU EX on this product and on the ease of adoption because of the layout and just the logical way that the product's laid out? What's your opinion in that sense?
So UI and UX, right?
Yes, yes, UI and UX. Yeah. So the question that's out there is one of adoption, and so by the users themselves. So I'm just kind of leading into that comment. How, as you look at this user interface,
yeah,
what's your impressions of it, and is it intuitive to you? What do you compared to other platforms?
Honestly speaking, based on the other legacy products that we have seen so far, I think this is one of the most organized product, the way they have re-architected. So I personally, I have not seen other products as organized as Epicor products in general, including Microsoft products. Even though Microsoft products might be slightly more cloud native, but overall from the design perspective, they are not as organized in terms of the layout. Epicor seems to have better layout. And by the way, you can reorganize all of these screens the way you want them to appear. So let's say if you like to see a list on the left side, you want to see another list on the right side, and then you want to have your lines appear here in the center, you can do all of that rearrangement very easily in Epicor product. That's how Epicor products are designed. So I am a big fan, to be honest, of the products themselves. That is the way they are designed. They're really good.
Yeah, and I was going to say it looks, I haven't studied the screens as close as you had preparing for this, but I also think it looks very intuitive and looks like something that would be good for that people are switching, especially from a legacy platform onto this. And the other comment I would make on adoption to the question that's posted is I consider adoption to be really a change management driver more than the software driver, and a really good change management process with your SI and with your senior executive teams down into who your real influencers are matters. It's nice if they're pretty great, easy screens, but that other part really is what makes a difference.
Could not agree. You are so right. So let's move to so this is the item master, and which is the heart of the ERP in my mind. So I always like to review the item, how the item master is structured. So in this particular case, you are going to find very unique flavors. For example, rental. Okay, rental is a very key functionality that you are not going to find in other products, even the bigger ones. They don't have that. But now, when you talk about the industrial distribution space, where renting is going to be so common, especially if you are selling expensive products, then that becomes a key functionality. And Epicor, you are going to find some of the other heavy features such as consigned. But so far, personally, I have not seen handling unit. Okay, and handling units, I need it. If you have a business that is going to have 5 sites, I would not feel comfortable without having handling unit for my supply chain. So I could not see if Epicor really supports that, but at least they have the.
Did you investigate more of the rental functionality, Sam?
So rental functionality, I could not see a lot. The way it is structured and the way screens are appearing, you can flag this as the rental item. It seems that you can have the rental item ID. So you can identify the item as the rental item. So that's number one. So you can have a little control there around those items. But I don't know how capable this is going to be. Let's say if you are just a leasing business, okay, then you have a completely different accounting. Okay, I would not use this product for that. If you are in the, there are businesses that are completely lease-based businesses. That's Epicor Prophet. Andy, I don't know if I answered.
Thanks,
okay.
Sam.
So the other things that I personally like about the distribution products versus the manufacturing products. Manufacturing products typically don't have as sophisticated planning capabilities at the item warehouse. That's where they start. Okay. So in the case of distribution products, you are going to have all of those bells and whistles related to your safety stock at the item warehouse level. And if you cannot do that, you are not a distribution product. Because the way the distribution planning works, especially if you are going to do the centralized, hub supply chain planning versus the regionalized DC, you need to make sure that each of the items are, number one, identified in each of the warehouses. And you need to make sure that, okay, whatever quantity each of the locations are going to require, you have that at the right time. So in some cases, it's probably going to be transferred. In some cases, it's going to be manufactured. Now, if you are the manufacturing ERP system, it's going to be a nightmare doing that in a manufacturing. So this is where the manufacturing and the distribution planning really differs. So here in this particular case, you are going to find this functionality at the item location level, and we are going to see that how deep this gets overall from the planning perspective. The other things that you are going to notice in the distribution is going to be your unit of measure, which is just a nightmare, okay, in general. For distribution companies, they probably need to convert, I don't know in how many different. So if you don't have a very rich unit of measure functionality built and supported in another layer on top of your item, it's going to be really, really hard to use that product. And Epicor Prophet 21 is going to be really rich in that. Pricing and discounting is another factor which products like NetSuite really struggles because they are not designed for B2B. Okay, B2B and B2C businesses are completely different. This product is really designed for those complicated B2B scenarios where your sales orders are going to be complex, pricing discounting is going to be complex, unit of measure is going to be complex. The way you are going to do distribution planning is extremely. The other things that you might be able to notice here is going to be, for example, the cycle counting is there at the location level, so you have that traceability right at the item master. Then you have the in-transit functionality where you have the clear visibility into your inventory, whether it is on the vessel, whether it is transfer. Now, this is very, very, very hard to do in a manufacturing system unless you are talking about those larger systems. that can support both manufacturing and distribution. But most of the mid-market, upper mid-market products, they typically support just one function, even though they are going to call, hey, I can do mixed mode manufacturing, I can do distribution, I can do everything. But it becomes really hard. Okay, so here is the factor, and this is where you sort of provide a lot of data to the algorithm, and algorithm is going to plan your procurement, and that's how the system understand how it needs to order each of the products. So this is really captured at the item level. So you have things such as usage factor, and this gets very, 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 very deep. Okay, the amount of capabilities that you have in terms of your planning. So this is where your forecasting accuracy can be overall at the item level, at the location level. And the more accurate you are, the more money you can save in your business, because distribution business is a penny business. Okay, the more sophisticated you are overall in your inventory supply chain planning, that's where the real money is. So overall, the planning is very, very, very deep. I just don't find these features in a manufacturing system if I review that. So again, this is designed for those complex distribution business. Freight, overall, if you look at the freight functionality as well, and this is the view of the calculation. I am a big fan of the screen overall. So here you are talking about, okay, this is the inventory you got, and what you have this inventory because of what factors. Where is that insight? So let's say if you have 10 different buckets in which your inventory is sitting, that could be your on-hand, allocated, quarantined, the back-ordered, the pending back-ordered. Sometimes that formula itself, knowing that is very, very... So Epicor Prophet 21 provides the visualized view of the formula. It's literally plus minus is equal to. It can't get easier than this. Okay, so again, Epicor products are designed to be easier for the users. So the people who don't have as much maths background or the statistics background, they will probably find it easier to understand, because this gets very complicated. Here, by the way, I mean, see, you are able to track the target for freight as well as for your inventory margins and the cost. So that's a big deal, guys. When you are able to track that, here you are defining the purchase target for each of the item. Again, for the distinct business, that's a big deal. Yeah, that's this one. Now, this is another one. So they have many different replenishment strategies, and the replenishment strategies that we saw in the case of SAP, Phil and Andy, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but SAP had many different ways of allowing you to plan the way you are going to be planning for your product. Manufacturing gets very deep as well in terms of planning. Okay, when you are doing the lean manufacturing, it's going to have many different algorithms that manufacturing require. Distribution is going to have very different way of planning. So if you are going to mix things up, it's not going to work. Okay, so this is where the distribution planning is going to be very different, and the way you can literally plan based on your lead time days, lead time factor. And some of these things may feel basic for a lot of people, but they are not. You are not going to find these things, at least at the right level, where you need them to be able to plan. So all of these things are not going to be available in the smaller system, including systems such as NetSuite. NetSuite really struggles overall in complicated planning. This is the replenishment one, and the replenishment, again, replenishment is very rich. I would say Acumatica is one of the B2B distribution system that I absolutely admire and appreciate, because it has very deep planning for the B2B business. B2B businesses have very different planning than your B2C business. So here, this planning is going to be applicable for more businesses that are going to be really deep in that. And that's where industrial distributors are going to enjoy this a lot. And that's why they are a big fan of Epicor Prophet. So here you have the replenishment strategies per item per warehouse, which is the differentiator with a lot of different manufacturing systems. They cannot do this.
Yeah, Sam, on that last one, go back real quick. Just in the demand area on middle right there, I thought that was interesting. Current forecast uses, there's a service level metric there, and there's a seasonal implication there, and they're also using ABC classes. So there's quite a bit of functionality implied here, which is like you say, for distribution, really some nice stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that seasonality, oh my goodness, it's a nightmare. If you're a seasonal business and you have to plan around that, it's very, very, very difficult to do right inside the ERP system. Most companies, what they do is they will not spend time in understanding the ERP system. They are going to take this data in the spreadsheet and then plan, and then going to complain that my support work.
Right, and they have a factor number in there, okay, on the demand side, and it's implying, I don't know how the functionality is, but it's implying that you can have that factor adjusted seasonally, which is really a slick tool if you're a seasonal business.
I know. Any other comments, guys? Okay, So this is where, and again, this is where they are trying to demonstrate the forecast versus the actual usage. And I think the next slide that I have is going to show the seasonal products as well, how the seasonal products are performing and what is going to be your forecast accuracy in each of those seasons. So you can plan for the, again, that's a big deal. So here you are able to see the average usage in past 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So again, you are going to be very informed overall in terms of planning that. So in my opinion, I found the whole retail distribution planning to be very deep in Prophet. This is for the seasonal product, as I had mentioned. So as you can see, it spikes up somewhere. So past 12 months, it was roughly 18, but 3 months only 6. So you can see it's spiking up in probably around December and Jan, and those are the seasons. The seasonal products are really spiking up if you are selling something related to the consumption, unless you have some or whatever. But seasonal, most of the seasonal items are going to be spiking up for Jan. So this is how they would plan for the seasonal items and visibility that you're going to get. And by the way, this is per location, which is the key part. This is not just the item level. This is going to be per location that you are able to and plan. So here they have used the DRP forecast, and this is what I like to see from companies when they are actually doing DRP. Then they should be calling it as DRP, and they should be calling it as the distribution system. And Epicor Prophet 21 and Epicor as a company is extremely fair in that they will never oversell that this is going to be a manufacturing there to see that. So kudos to Epicor that they really like to sell it as the distribution product. Here, and again, this is the DRP forecast that you are trying to forecast based on months. And typically this resides in your SNOP system, because most of the SNOP practitioners, they are not going to be comfortable with the ERP system. They just don't like it. So they are going to ask for another SNOP or the spreadsheet. But if you do it right, and if you keep everything in system, that's going to be much easier overall, not only from the data quality perspective, but your planning is far easier. And this is the beauty. I mean, if you actually look at the operation of how the screen is organized and what all they can do on the screen. So this is where you are looking at, okay, if I have 4 items in the location, can I quickly transfer? So you can transfer all of that right from this screen, which is a great view of all of your locations, item per location. And then you are trying to transfer, trying to create PO, or in this particular case, I have not seen even once them referring to more of the production order, even though we had seen job being referenced in the first enterprise search. So they have not really mentioned that this is a manufacturing product, it's a distribution product. And that's why they are simply talking about the purchase order and the transfer, and that those feature sets should be the most common and most prevalent distribution system. Okay, so
Yeah.
I think this
just to comment on those. I mean, just the overall demand planning, location planning, transfer orders, season. I mean, just that whole piece in there is really, really, really solid looking stuff.
Any other comments, guys? Phil or Andy? Okay, so some reviews. And here, one of the consistent review that I have personally seen, and I don't know if you guys have had a chance to review any of the reviews, but one of the things that you are going to notice about Epicor Prophet 21 is that the product, okay? So again, the product is slower because it's designed for smaller. If you are going to overuse it, then obviously you are going to feel the slowness. Any IT system, any ERP system assume transactional capacity. Salespeople might claim that an IT system can work for any number of transactions, but that's not how I pay. So they assume a certain number of transactional, capacity. So if a company is going to be bigger, then you need to be moving to the larger system. That's how it works. Now, if you are going to be overutilizing, obviously you struggle. So here in this particular case, let's see in this review. So here the reviewer is saying PO requirement generation is also a great powerful tool, and that is something that the item master and the PO requirements generation tool is the most powerful, and I have to agree with the reviewer on that. If you set up your ABC classes, safety stock, utilize up to, okay, and up to is a very advanced planning method that Epicor Prophet 21 is providing. If you use that as your replenishment method, the system can basically do your purchasing for you, and you can feel comfortable with the way it purchases. That's a big deal. That's really a big deal. Okay, you are automating your entire purchase. Then the user is saying, I love Dyna changes, and by the way, guys, if you are not familiar with Dyna changes, it's going to be that, workflow automation. Let's say if you need to do any sort of a full flow using, let's say, if a sales order is going to $1,000, they can do all of these notification approval flow. So that's what is Dyna changes, and it's very user friendly. So the user is saying they love that functionality because they can create all of these notifications approval flow by themselves, and they don't need to go to IT to be able to do that. So Dyna changes and Dyna change rules, most people love that. It truly allows you to customize the screen to meet your department and company's needs. You can move things around, and if you have a function that is always requested, you can make it happen automatically with Dyna change rules. I agree with that. Pure requirement generation, we need the ability to add items on the fly in our now. Interesting. So I think this is the comment on the functionality back in 2018. So I don't know if they have included that, but she is asking that I don't even want to go to the item screen to view the item. I want on my whatever workbench I have, I should be there, which could be a heavier lift in my opinion. I don't know how many ERP systems can do that, but that's a slightly heavier ask in my opinion. Okay, the next one is you have one carrier ID for the entire order. So now this is the limitation that you are going to be thinking, and this is where those 1 to n scenarios could be trickier to meet with these smaller systems. So here, the implication of this functionality is going to be, let's say if you want to split this order into two different carriers, half of the order goes to LTL, half of the order goes to UPS, then you probably need to create two different orders to do that. So this is where the trick is. And I don't know if this is really the limitation of P21 as of today, because the review is from 2018 and we don't even know which version she was using, but these are some of the limitations. The limitations are always going to be in those 1 to n scenarios, and the bigger the business is going to be, the more demanding customers you get, then you are going to get far more 1 to n scenarios, whether you are looking at the order splitting, shipment splitting, invoice splitting, invoice consolidation. That's where things get real overall.
I think that's a distinction I don't think we've made in any of these, is that the amount of one-to-many capabilities really grows as you get to the more robust products.
Exactly. I think we need to be doing a lot more, Phil. Okay, so the other disadvantage that you are going to get with Epicor Prophet 21, and this review is really critical. So it does not have as deep service functionality. Now, this could be really tricky, okay? So let's say if you are the distributor in the automotive, okay, there's no way in the hell you can serve your customers without having that. So in this particular case, they have the service add-on, which is going to be a completely different add-on in that you have to log into a different system. And I don't know how integrated that is right now, but the service functionality is really weak. So if you are a pure play distributor, meaning buy sell distributor, you buy goods, you sell goods, there's no service involved, okay? Then Epicor Prophet 21 is going to be a very natural. But if you are going to do anything more than that, then it's really going to struggle, especially in the service functionality. So make sure you pay attention to how your business, whether you are more of the aftermarket service provider. If you are that, this is not the right. If you are a pure play industrial distributor, buy product, sell product, this could be a great fit. So here we have a technical service team that services our customers in a large geographic area. Prophet 21 service module allows us to track the serial number of the equipment. So great, at least they have that traceability. The service module could be more integrated into the Prophet 21 program. It is a separate login, and the orders can't be from the same module, meaning they have figured out some ad hoc arrangement there to make sure you can access the software, but it's not going to be as integrated as if it was built.
Well, it's interesting that it's mentioning the separate login for the service capabilities. The Epicor Connect system also had that challenge, although I think about 6 months or 12 months ago, Epicor purchased a new service functionality, field service functionality, which I think their plan was to blend it into the main ERP. So that might be what they're doing here as well.
So I would doubt if that comment is right, because the way we saw in the case of Kinetic, to be honest, that felt as if they are able to do service-based scheduling, and for that, there's no way you can do that in Prom 21.
I think that's with their newer service module, not their older one.
Yeah. So this is the review. So here they are saying the support is some of the worst I have seen across all the 122 software vendors we work with. So Epicor, you must be doing something really wrong. Okay? So you really need to figure this out. You as a company are not as great. Your products are great. Okay. But you as a company, you are getting consistent reviews that Epicor company is really poor and everything is offshore and it is always sure. I mean, that could happen with any company, to be honest. Okay. NetSuite, Infor, but the comment that the user made is a big one. Links to wikis that don't apply, which is not fair. When we pay for project support, they charge $200 an hour. Okay, but get me at least my answers now. For someone who works remote from Mexico to call, that's okay, but at least give me my answers. On a poor quality VoIP connection, that isn't all that well trained and often does not have basic IT capability.
So that's a bad one, but I was caught, and I'm sure that's what their experience is. But that's a 1 to 10 employee company that's in computer and network security. And because my first thought was, who has 122 software vendors, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's extraordinary.
I've worked with 122 software vendors. Isn't that shocking?
Yeah. So
that's all this guy does, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're in network security, maybe they're familiar with them. But a 10-employee company, that was a little weird. But if the gentleman says that's his experience, then that's his experience. He's the president of his company. He's not going to say that if it's not true.
He's saying that we work with 122.
Yeah.
Think of this, Phil. So if the computer company is not happy with Epicor support, and in my mind, at least the computer guys would have far more education on how to use their product than your manufacturer and distributor, then I don't know what distributors are going to.
Yeah, so that is a real red flag, no doubt about it.
Okay, so just some more comments here about the review. So here, I don't know, overall speed of the system is highlighted here. Not a lot of flexibility to import and fast edit areas that make sense in our business. The front counter speed is really... Now, I think the speed is very consistent. If you actually analyze the reviews, speed and support are two consistent trends that you are probably going to find in every single review that Epicor.
But this one's interesting where it says recommendation, consider your needs, particularly in POS. So we had the impression that it was pretty good for retail, but here it's saying it's not. So that's interesting.
So again, I don't think you should be utilizing Epicor Prophet 21 as your POS. It's not designed for that. If you are going to use, even though Acumatica is going to sell that, I got 80 POS.
Okay, so maybe it's like a counter sales.
Exactly.
Low volume POS.
Don't use
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Any other comments, guys? Okay, so that's it for the session. We can.
Hey, I've talked to a lot of companies that own this software, and most of them all like it. They all do a good job. Service seems to be always a common complaint about anyone with ERP, but it's got a good reputation, so good solid product.
Yep, I agree with that. I mean, the only kind of negatives is if it's oversold, and I give them a lot of kudos. That doesn't look like they're overselling it, like some of the other ones where they're pretending there's something they're not. They seem to be pretty solid in their lane. It'd be interesting to see how their digital journey is continuing, because I'm sure they're getting better. Some of those comments were aged, so you got to think, on having, for example, splitting a shipment in a distribution model is a pretty common functionality.
Pretty common.
So I would be surprised if that hasn't been resolved or isn't, pretty important for this type of a package to get resolved. And on the adoption question that was floated around earlier, I think their UX looks pretty good. They're giving a lot of good functionality to the people, and some of the functionality in the distribution side, and particularly in demand planning, I found to be extraordinary for this particular level of platform.
I'm good, Sam. Thank you.
Yep, I think I'm good too, Sam.
Okay, so I am going to have a little question for you guys. So let's say if you were to compare this with Epicor Kinetic, so which are the companies that you are going to be positioning this product versus Epicor Kinetic? If somebody comes to you, how are you going to be positioning Epicor Kinetic versus Epicor Prophet 21?
You mean what demographic is, what type of company you're talking about?
Yeah, give us some variables overall. Let's say if somebody comes to you for the advice, okay, I am trying to evaluate Epicor Prophet 21 versus Kinetic. So which are the companies that are going to be right fit? And describe the business model overall in terms of service manufacturing. Maybe provide some examples of.
Obviously any kind of a B2B environment, they're going to have a warehousing problem or WMS requirements, I think this would be a good solid product. I mean, comparing it to Kinetic, I don't think it's really a fair comparison. They're on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I would say it's going to get into a bit of a bad answer for me on this one, Sam. How many entities do you have? How many, how broad is your business? What does your financial roll up look like? Is there a lot going on there with where multiple tenants or multiple entities or that type of complexity of functionality? Obviously, if you're getting outside a pure distribution model, then something that's a higher end product is going to be distributed. There's probably some stops between the two, Andy, that might make that particular question a little bit more fair, if you will, or a little bit more, if you got to have a really good reason to get up top into Kinetic, I think, from this product.
There's always going to be overlap on any of these at one level or another, but I mean, these ones, I think the overlap is not so great. I think it's pretty much either you're a manufacturer or you're a wholesaler.
Yeah. Maybe that's as simple as it is, and maybe a little bit of the breadth and complexity of the business model, Andy, would go into that question too. But I mean, in both cases, solid platforms, and in both cases, a company that knows the application they're selling to and tries to maximize that versus broaden it artificially. And I give them a lot of credit for, the way it's structured and the way they're selling it. I still think their cloud journey is probably a little bit of something where they don't, to your earlier point, Sam, because they don't really publish and are transparent about some of the functionality and the back end, you got to kind of guess. There's a little bit of a flag there.
Yeah, that's just marketing. Everybody likes to hide any kind of warts or potholes and not let the world know about them. So
yeah, but inquiring minds want to know, Andy. People are spending a ton of money on this stuff.
I know that.
And the problem isn't just the spend. The problem is you're getting married, right? It's really difficult to unwind it.
And once you're in bed with your new wife,
okay, easy.
It is not hard to get her out of bed.
Grizzled veteran. You're about to fumble the ball like a rookie.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, boy.
So, anyways, they're good products in the right environment. I mean, there was the one mention about support. That's a pretty common complaint about Epicor, but it's a common complaint about most ERP. So, I feel like a broken record, but speak to companies that are similar to yourself that are already using these critical requirements that you expect us to do, and make sure that they're the ones that are already learning it. Why not learn from them, right? So learn from their experience.
One short comment.
I'm good.
And you good as well?
It's all great, Sam.
All right, guys. So that's it for today. If you are evaluating the Epicor Prophet 21, again, if you're a buy-sell distributor, a smaller one, then Epicor Prophet 21 is going to be a great product. Do not try to utilize this for manufacturing. Okay, it is not for manufacturing. On that note, if you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5. We review one vendor or the solution independently. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution or the vendor. On that note, thanks everyone for your time and insights tonight.
Thanks, Sam. Everybody. It's always fun.
Thanks, Sam.
I don't thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Andy Pratico, head over to essoft.com. It's ESSOFT.com. If you want to learn more about Phil Kerper, head over to ringlingbusinesssolutions.com. It's ringlingbusinesssolutions.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, you might want to check other related episodes, including the interview with Erin Koss, CPA from Site Consulting Group, who brings a unique and fresh perspective through her recent ebook on how to grow and scale during COVID-19. Also, the interview with DC Spragler, who discusses why companies should spend less time worrying about forecasting accuracy and more on execution. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to get you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.